Politics and economy are two issues that have never matched in life because politicians and economists will always clash over the performance of the economy. But in Uganda today, politicians and economists agree that Uganda's economy is now better than it was 26 years ago, and still more hopes of better performance. Growing at an average rate of 5% annually, a lot is decided to be achieved as politicians preach good performance in the future. But can Uganda develop economically without casting its burden to other countries or begging for economic help? Well, policy and economic analysts say Uganda is still a puppet of Western economic pills, despite President Museveni and his close allies in the NRM promising to finance major projects using local revenues.
A significant percentage of our budget is funded through foreign aid, both in terms of grants but also, and loans.
30% of Uganda's budget is still under control of donors who dictate major economic projects like road construction. The 70% of resource envelope is divided among minor economic projects that do not have tangible returns.
You want to do everything, eventually you end up not having any impact on anything. And it doesn't mean that the government has not spent money. A lot of resource outlays have been spent. But because you overspent thinly in very many areas, you find that you have not had any substantive impact.
Most of Ugandan taxpayers' money is used to fund a bloated government. That our government has become so big that it is sucking whatever money that we are able to generate through local revenue. So if you look at the parliament, we have here figures showing how the budget of parliament has been increasing like a plane, taking off.
The little donor funds say to account for 30% of annual resource envelope is the only hope for the structure of development, as it is used to fund major projects. Major programs like HIV/AIDS, malaria, peace recovery and development, National Agricultural Advisory Services entirely depends on donor funding. Other projects like road construction and energy development are cost shared due to lack of sufficient resources.
You can take the example of HIV, AIDS, malaria and malaria program with the Global Fund. You can take the example of the National Agricultural Advisory Services program. So many programs which you find that they are actually so much dependent on donor funding that if the donors were to withdraw the way they have done, those programs would actually suffer.
Donors also dictate on what the country should do and should not do. This was evident when Uganda tried to review the homosexual bill that sparked a lot of uproar from the donor community. Corruption scandals as well in the office of the Prime Minister led to aid cut, leaving the country in fear with no measures to accommodate side shocks.
But for us, I think here is to say, to talk, is what we are very much familiar with. Talking will not lead us anywhere. It is now high time to do. And one of the things to do is actually to stop corruption and this robbery.
Though economists agree that the country is still dependent on donor funding to accomplish all its plans every financial year, they believe that Uganda has potential to fund its development agenda if unnecessary expenditure can be checked. They cite bloated parliament, many districts created, large staff at the president's office, and big cabinet, among others, as a sign of government financial indiscipline.
Why is the budget increasing? It is not because the parliament is becoming more productive. It is because the parliament is becoming big with the creation of new districts. So you take the example of the office of the president with all the people who work there. First of all, the cabinet, and then the advisors, and so the same thing you would say for the office of the president and state house. It's not because these have become more productive. It is because they have become bigger. And you can consider the amount of money we spend on districts, the amount of money we spend on the public service.
A district in Uganda is a service delivery point. That's how it is understood. But you see, creation of a district in Uganda here is a political and administrative point, isn't it? People are thinking that it's creating jobs. Can the district create jobs? What creates jobs? A district can never create jobs.
Besides high expenditure to the bloated government structures, what is collected domestically is stolen, and still, collecting revenue still has loopholes. The big cabinet, fueled by numerous foreign trips, which to economists say are purposely for French wine, and travel allowances without open accountability to the public, has left the country begging for donor aid.
I think we are collecting a reasonable amount of money from local revenue, but we are so much dependent on the donors because the money we collect, we either steal it or our government is so big that we use it to run the government.
Besides being the first nation on the line of begging countries in the world to get debt relief from World Bank, International Monetary Fund and African Development Bank, there are no gains registered from these relief initiatives. Uganda's domestic debts are at 2.5 billion American dollars as foreign debt hit 5.5 billion American dollars.
But for me, I don't very much believe in donors. I don't know who is telling people that when donors are not here, then every Ugandan is going to die. And actually, these donors, to me, are the ones who have also now created a problem in funding this corruption. Because if this money was not here, this level of corruption wouldn't be at this level.
All this combined makes Uganda a country that still value the financial appeal from IMF, World Bank, African Development Bank, and its development partners outside Africa. Bwire, WBS News.